Good evening and welcome to the Sioux Falls City Council. The City Council meeting will be starting in 1 minute.
Well, hearty good evening to everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, March 5th. We'll start the meeting, as we always do, with a roll call of your City Council.
Council members Rolfing.
Here.
Staggers.
Present.
Aguilar.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Entman.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Jameson.
Here.
Karski.
Here. Thank you, City Council. We appreciate it. We're very, very happy to have Chaplain John Mooney, who is a pastor at the Sioux Falls VA and the Air National Guard here in Sioux Falls, and also in Brandon Valley at a small church as well. And we're very, very happy to have you here leading us in prayer tonight, Chaplain John. What we'd ask you to do is to stand, and if you'd remain standing, after Chaplain John is done, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you all pray with me? O God of peace, love, and hope, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of Sioux Falls. Help us to act now with character and conviction. Help us now to listen to the people of Sioux Falls with understanding and goodwill. Help us now to speak with guidance and restraint. Give us now a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need, especially in this challenging time. Help us see the humanity and the dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the respect your creation deserves. Finally, Father, renew us now with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of human person. We ask this as your children, confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It was nice meeting you, sir. Thanks. Appreciate it. We'll meet again. Yes, sir, for sure.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome. And we've got a great crowd. Very, very happy to have everybody here tonight. I do have a couple proclamations. And Scotty Briggs, is Scotty here? Scotty, come on forward, please. Welcome. Scotty here, come. Nice to meet you. I'm Mike. Nice to meet you. Come on over. Daryl, you want to come over too? The proclamation reads, whereas respectful and inclusive language is essential to the movement for the dignity and humanity of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. However, much of society does not recognize the hurtful, dehumanizing, and exclusive effects of the words retard and retarded. Whereas it is time to address the minority slurs retard and retarded and raise the consciousness of society to its hurtful effects. Whereas the Spread the Word to End the Word campaign is an ongoing effort by Special Olympics, Best Buddies International, and their supporters to raise the consciousness of society about the dehumanizing and hurtful effects of the words retard and retarded, and encourage people to pledge to stop using the R word. Whereas the campaign, created by youth with and without developmental disabilities, is intended to engage schools, organizations, and communities to rally and pledge their support. Whereas on March 6, 2013, residents of the City of Sioux Falls and throughout the United States will lead the annual Day of Awareness to spread the word to end the word. Whereas the day will be devoted to educating and raising awareness of the positive impact individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities have in our communities, and why the use of the R word is hurtful, even in casual conversation. Now, therefore, I'm Mike Huther. I am the mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, and I hereby proclaim March 6, 2013 as Spread the Word to End the Word Day in the City of Sioux Falls, and encourage all citizens to pledge to stop using the R word, helping to make the world a more accepting place for all people. Scotty, thanks for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. And do you have some friends here as well? Would you mind standing, the friends of Scotty tonight? Would you mind standing? Come forward. Come on. Come this way. Everybody? Scotty's giving me a T-shirt. Thank you. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you. I appreciate it. You bet. Take care, man. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. And is Mary Lacey here tonight? Mary, welcome. Please, come on up. Do you have a T-shirt, Mary? No. Okay, very good. Well, Mary, welcome. It's so nice to have you here. The next proclamation reads, whereas the Big Sioux Aquifer underlies approximately 1,000 square miles, and together with the Big Sioux River provides water to communities in southeastern South Dakota. Whereas providing 2,500 fourth grade children from 100 classes in 50 southeastern South Dakota schools with information about the protection and the preservation of water, our most valuable natural resource, will help children make educated decisions concerning water in the future. Whereas this education is accomplished with the help of 100 plus volunteers from federal, state, county, and city governments, and from private businesses. Whereas this is the 20th annual event. Whereas the City of Sioux Falls City Council, they do recognize the long-term benefits of this type of education and support such educational efforts. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim March 12th and March 13th as Sioux Empire Water Festival Days in Sioux Falls and the Sioux Empire. Mary, we're gonna congratulate you, and then do you have any words?
No, other than thank you very much. We appreciate your support.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Oh, my T-shirt. Don't worry, guys. Well, Council, we'll continue with our work, and that is with our consent agenda. Any changes to tonight's consent agenda?
Move to approve Urban Bio.
Second.
There's been a motion to approve, and it has been seconded. Is there any comments or questions? Councilor Edmond is going to recuse himself. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. We'll now move on to our regular agenda. Council, any changes?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve our agenda tonight, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. There is no discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Entman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. We will now move on to a portion of the night where we allow anybody from the public to come forward to engage the council. We'd ask you to limit your comments to 5 minutes or less and just introduce yourself to the people of Sioux Falls. Welcome.
Hi, Greg Neitzer, Sioux Falls. At the informational today, you talked about rezoning, and we've been talking about this for a while, of the C4 versus C2. I guess I wanted to maybe take it in a little different direction. I think staff did a really good job, but one thing I guess I wanted to point out was, and I'm specifically talking about undeveloped lots that are currently C4. If you look at them now, as they discussed, you need a conditional use permit if you want to do something that's greater than 15,000 square feet, which, as you know, is going to trigger public notification and it's going to trigger public hearings. In the new zoning, with the new C2, which the biggest you can do is an RE3 form, as they talked about, you actually get, for the most part, more square footage. So when you talk, when I've heard the word down zoning, I don't think that's really accurate when you look at what you're getting. But I think the key is, when you look at the new C4, the big key is when you look at the building size, unlimited. So if, for example, we take a lot on the southeast side of town that's about 770,000 square feet that was going to be rezoned a handful of months ago, and you voted 7-1 not to rezone it, if you were to zone this in this ordinance, C4, just taking that one as an example, it would get rezoned, and a big box store could walk down to the city and get a permit, as long as they can follow all the other regulations, and put in that store. No public notification, no input. They can just do it. And to be fully transparent, I supported that rezoning. I thought that store should have went in there. I respectfully disagreed with it. But this would not be the way to do it. The way to do it would be to put it C2 to begin with and other like items, and then they can apply for rezoning, and we can fight that battle all over again. We'll have the notification, and we can go through all of it, and whatever store we can make the case again. But we don't want to slip in the back door what couldn't get through the front door. And I would assume you're going to have pitchforks at City Hall if something like this were to happen and dirt started to get moved and the public was going, what's going on here? So with that, I think you should rezone all of these to C2 in general, and then we can fight the C4 battle one by one. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Good job.
I have understood.
Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Paula Johnson. Collecting signatures on the petitions to keep Spellerberg a park. We've heard steady comments about memories people have of Spellerberg, whether it's sledding down the hill or parents bringing their kids to play at the park just as they did as they were kids. They have these great memories, and we found out that Spellerberg, in fact, is an anchor to Sioux Falls, not just to our neighborhood. Sioux Falls is fortunate to have had visionaries at the turn of the 20th century in Mrs. Tuthill, Mrs. McKinnon, and Mr. Sherman, who all left specific stipulations in their wills during donating land to the parks in Sioux Falls. In March of 1944, the U.S. government, under the Veterans Affairs and Veterans Administration and Hospital, purchased 60 acres of land to establish the VA in Sioux Falls. In 1955, the VA sold 20 acres of land to Sioux Falls, which was named after the first Sioux Falls Park Superintendent, Fred Spellerberg, you may know. When the VA agreed to sell the land to the City of Sioux Falls, they too were visionaries, concerned enough about the use of that land. A quitclaim deed was written in addition to the land contract, creating a binding agreement on how the park could be used. The quitclaim deed states, paragraph 6, subparagraph A, the premises herein conveyed are to be continuously used only as and for park and recreational purposes in a manner which, in the judgment of the Administrator of Veterans Affairs or his designate, will not interfere with the care or treatment of patients in the Veterans Administration Hospital, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. B, the premises are herein conveyed upon the condition that in the event that they are not used for such above stated purpose, all right, title, interest therein shall immediately revert to and revest in the United States of America, and upon which reversion the title of the City of Sioux Falls thereto shall cease and determine, and the United States of America shall have the immediate right of possession thereof. City Park and Recreation approved plans of Spellerberg showing a commercial 2-story plus building and a parking lot reducing the park by over 50%. This is in addition to the drainage ditches that already exist, taking up over a third of the park. The architect's plan identified optional parking on VA property, never contacting the administrator of the VA, per the quitclaim deed, who is General Shinseki, Secretary of Veterans Administration, Washington, D.C. The quitclaim deed states the land is to be used in a park manner. By definition, attractive land including lawns, woodland, pasture, land kept for ornament and recreation, maintained in its natural state. A 2-story commercial building and cement parking doesn't pass the test. What would happen if the city built this facility near Sanford, Avera, or Augustana, with the city encroaching on their properties for parking? The short answer is it would never happen. So how is it that the city park and rec and city leaders can turn their backs on veterans and ignore the quitclaim deed? I've spoken to most of the veteran service clubs in Sioux Falls, and they in turn are very outspoken regarding the city leadership's turning a blind eye to veterans, knowingly violating a legal document and willingly creating a burden on the VA and veterans. Why should veterans going to their doctor appointments have to compete for parking on VA land with Sioux Falls Park and Rec? I understand the Park and Rec manager has said they do not intend to use VA parking, which is sufficiently ambiguous and does not circumvent the quitclaim deed. The aquatic center cannot be built on Spillerberg Park without breaching the quitclaim deed. For that reason, Spillerberg Park should be removed from the indoor aquatic center plan. The city must do a more diligent job of identifying an appropriate site for the aquatic center. Today's VA offers more types of health care than ever before, as wars have become as complex as the injuries they inflict on our military. The VA is continually growing to maximize care for some 25,000 veterans in a 4-state area. At the same time, they're preparing for the military returning home as the war draws down in the next year. Will you stand up, do what is right, honor these 25,000 veterans and those coming home, and comply with this quitclaim deed? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to the council? Sir, welcome.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, my name is Douglas Cook. I live at 4902 South Oxbow, Royal Oak Apartments. I moved to the city here about 6 years ago. I am a disabled veteran, and I use the hospital many times. First time I went to the hospital, it was out in the country in 1952. And I think maybe that's probably before some of you were born. And I've seen, I've had several surgeries and time of recovery in this hospital expand and expand and expand. And right now, the hospital has 830 employees, 700 volunteers, And we have approximately every day 400 outpatients coming in for treatment. The parking as it is now is very chaotic, and sometimes it's almost impossible to find a place to park. And if they expand anymore, they're going to have to arrange with the city to get more land for parking. And this year, they, excuse me, are going, this summer, we're going to add, the VA is going to add another floor on top of what is ground floor, add a full emergency room with several rooms for privacy, and add 2 more surgical suites. So that means a lot of bit more building, and it's going to mean more jobs for the city. But it also is going to mean that we will need more parking. And so I really wish, you have a very good idea in having a swimming pool, but I just think it's going to be in the wrong place. We're going to run out of room. Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask me?
Ms. Cook, thank you very much, and certainly thank you for your service as well.
Well, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to the council? Well, very good. Thank you for your comments tonight. We certainly appreciate it. We'll now move on to item number 19.
Item number 19 is a new 2013 packaged liquor license for Luciano's North Ltd. Luciano's North to be operated at 431 North Phillips Avenue. CUP not required. This is in addition to an existing license. Number 20 is a transfer of a 2013 retail wine license from B&S Japanese Steakhouse LLC, Tokyo Sushi and Hibachi, 3202 East 10th Street, to Tokyo Sushi and Hibachi Steakhouse LLC, Tokyo Sushi and Hibachi Steakhouse, 3202 East 10th Street. Number 21 is transfer of a 2012-2013 retail malt beverage license from B&S Japanese Steakhouse LLC, Tokyo Sushi and Hibachi, 3202 East 10th Street, to Tokyo Sushi and Hibachi Steakhouse LLC, Tokyo Sushi and Hibachi Steakhouse, 3202 East 10th Street. Item 22 is a special one-day liquor license request for the Avera McKinnon Foundation to be operated at the Avera Prairie Center, 1000 East 23rd Street, for the Big Grape fundraiser on April 12, 2013. And 23 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation to be operated at CNA Surety, 101 South Reed Street, Suite 300, for a fundraiser on May 2nd, 2013.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer, licensing specialist. Item 19, the applicant is wishing to apply for the packaged liquor license. He currently holds a retail malt and retail wine at that location. And the applicant is here tonight. If anybody had any questions for him, I could certainly call him up. 20 and 21 are transfers of ownership, and 22 and 23 are a couple special one-day events that are happening in the city.
Jamie, thank you. Council, any questions, comments, or motions?
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve these items, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers, Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 24.
Item 24 is deferred action from the City Council meetings of November 6, 2012 and January 2nd, 2013, second reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at North Cliff Avenue and East 1st Street from the I-1 Light Industrial District, I-2 General Industrial District, and the RD Residential District to the RS2 Residential District, petition number 2012-0914, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls.
The applicant has a request in to defer this to June 4th of 2013.
Mr. Schmidt, thank you very much. Council, a motion?
So moved.
Second, Entenmann.
It's been a motion to defer this item to Tuesday, June 4th. It was made by Councilor Urbanbach, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 25.
Item 25 is the second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. Tonight, this is just kind of recap of our project that we talked to you about during our first reading. The supplemental appropriation would provide us with the spending authority for us to construct a new station point, or what we call a rest area, along the bike trail on our city's west side. Tonight, I do have an aerial photo. Sorry, I thought it was pulled up already, but Steve will work on it for me. That would be able to help identify where that location is. There you go. Thank you, Steve. The area, if you notice, the area to be paved, that's the area on 41st Street is to your north, 49th Street is below, and that's the area that what I call is a bump out, is the area where the proposed improvements would be placed. I'd also just like to recognize the Ellman Family Foundation. They are providing the funding in the amount of almost $40,000 in the memory of the late Jim Ellman. And Richard Ellman thanked us for the opportunity to be here tonight, but just asked that keep him posted on the progress. He's very appreciative of us willingness to accept the gift and provide the improvements in memory of his father. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Don. This is a second reading. Is there anybody who wanted to speak to this item in the audience? Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Anderson has made a motion to approve. Seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Councilor Urbanbach.
I was going to ask if the family was here, and since they're not, I hope that we do more than just write a simple thank you note. You know, I think the Ellman family has done a lot of amazing things for the Park and Rec Department in Sioux Falls, and so I hope they understand just how grateful we are. These are wonderful gifts for recreation opportunities in Sioux Falls, so
Will do.
our thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
There's been a motion and it has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 26.
Item 26 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 53, Publicly Owned Treatment Works, Section 53.023, Regulation of Use of Public Sewers.
Good evening, Chad Hebe with the Engineering Division. This is the second reading of an ordinance regarding nuisance sump pump water. The current ordinance requires nuisance pumpers to connect to a sump pump collection system if there is one adjacent to their property and if the structure was constructed in 2005 or later. Structures constructed before 2005 are exempt from this requirement. The proposed revision will remove this exemption and require all nuisance pumpers to connect to a system if there is one adjacent to their property. This proposed ordinance was presented and approved by the Infrastructure Review and Advisory Board, and staff recommends approval.
Again, folks, a second reading. Anybody interested in commenting on this? Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second,
Karski.
It's been a motion to approve by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Entenmann. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson, Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. 27, please.
Item 27 is an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment, petition number 2013-0102, to Section 160.446 Planned Development Districts at East 57th Street between South Bonson Avenue and South Greystone Avenue, allowing changes in land use as reflected in the revised Sub-Area B regulations and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls.
Good evening. This is Jeffrey Schmidt representing planning staff this evening. This is an existing planned development district on the southeast part of town, and existing planned development districts have to go through major amendments if they want to change their land uses. They originally proposed this to be apartment complexes in an RA zoning district. They'd like to amend that and do twin homes and townhomes here, so they want to change it from RA to RD. That's an appropriate land use transition, and it's 11.5 acres in size, and it was approved by Planning Commission back in February.
Would anybody like to speak on this item? Council? Councilor Rolfing.
Jeff, is this the area that I talked to you about with that wetlands?
No.
This is farther east, isn't it?
This is on 50, just south of 57th Street.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Bach.
For the sake of argument, Jeff, could you tell us pretend that item 29 passes? And
Okay.
Can you do that for us?
Sure.
What would we do with something like this under the new proposed shape
Excellent.
places? Just
Thank you.
briefly.
This is a good analogy. Okay, right now it's showing all up as gray on your screen, and so people look at that as a zoning district and they go, what's gray? You can see on the screen there's yellow and there's orange. Well, those are zoning classifications that people can get a little better understanding. It's RS or it's RD. In the new map, if this shape places go forward, that would show up right now as brown. It would be RA, and we have all those classifications. Even though we've taken away the 280 planned development districts, we've placed conventional zoning on there. So it will show up now in April, May when this goes into effect, and it will show up as RA. At that point, they don't want to build apartments in RA. They'd still come in front of you and say, now we don't want to do a major amendment. We want to do a rezoning, and we want to change it to RD. Similar process, but it's not a major amendment. It's a rezoning request. But from our standpoint, we think it's clearer and more comfortable for the property owners because they look at it and they go, what's gray? Well, you know, we don't know the difference between any of those grays up there, but they'd see brown, they could look at the legend, see RA, and it would be transferred to a RD district.
Councilor Bach.
One more then, just to clarify for us again, before they could make this change that they're asking us to do now, they had to do some notifications to their neighbors, there had to be some signs up, there had to be some things like that,
Correct.
right? Remind me what those were.
Sure, you have to post it in the legal newspaper, you have to send the notices, we send the notices to the adjacent property owners, and then they have to post the signs prior to the public hearing. So those will continue in the new ordinance also.
That would be the same in the new ordinance.
Correct. Yes.
So changes, major changes like this could not be done without more public hearings. That's the big thing for me.
Yes.
So, okay, great,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Councilor Bach, with that in mind, would you,
I think
or
Rolfing
Councilor
has
Rolfing?
Yeah, you said that same thing would happen, but earlier you said a change from a C4 to a C2 would not, if we change that like on 57th and Cliff, that piece of property would have changed, would have taken no change, no public hearing, nothing.
No.
With the change, the way that would have gone.
No. Conditional use versus a rezoning, I think if they rezone the property, they still have to do public notification. And we did public.
They rezone it.
If they rezone it, and we did public notification on all these rezoning changes. When we took properties today, as we talked at informational, when we changed everybody's property in the city of Sioux Falls, we believe we did proper public notification.
The problem would arise if that piece of property would have been zoned C4, wham, that could have just gone in.
Correct, and it's not.
And it's not, right.
It won't be.
Got it.
As we go forward, it wouldn't be.
Councilor, would you mind making a motion to approve?
I will do so.
Thank you, Councilor Rolfing.
Second, Urbanbach.
Thank you, Councilor Urbanbach. It's been a motion to approve. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 28.
Item 28 is the second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Section 157 of the subdivision ordinance.
Good evening, Chad Heavey with the Engineering Division. In December, you approved securitizing public improvements that are not complete at the time of platting. And at that time, there were two instances that were not included with that ordinance change, and those are dual frontage lots and half streets. Steve, do you have that? I apologize for that. Example in front of you is an example of a dual frontage lot. 22nd Street is on the back side of these homes, and Justice Street is on the front side of these homes. And then the next example is a half street. You see towards Highway 11, 33rd Street is platted as 80 feet of right-of-way, but as you see going to the east, you only have 40 feet of platted right-of-way. And typically these instances are located on property lines. The required right-of-way for the street is owned by two different owners, and typically these are the last streets that are constructed in a subdivision. And the issue arises when the two property owners are not on the same time schedule to complete the improvements. And so we've worked with the Infrastructure Review and Advisory Board and developed these proposed revisions that will require half-street right-of-way to be securitized if the public improvements are not complete at the time of platting. And acceptable forms of security are the same as they are for everything else: a bond, an irrevocable letter of credit, an escrow account, or other approved assurances approved by the city. So once again, this was developed and approved by the Infrastructure Review and Advisory Board and passed unanimously by the Planning Commission.
Chad, thank you. Is there anyone who wanted to speak on this item? Councilor Enderman.
Chad, question for you. Could you explain, if you securitize on 33rd Street the half, which is 40 feet, right? Now, I see there's some lots that front onto that street that if we make the assumption that they're going to be developed, well, if only half the street is in, what happens with the traffic? I mean, don't we need 2 lanes?
When I say, I mean, typically, this developer may come into us and say, I want to construct half the street. And what will happen is that we won't just build a half a street. We'll maybe build, the north side will have the curb and gutter and sidewalk as usual. We'll put the utilities in, and maybe we'll build 5/8 of a street. We'll have enough pavement there so we could have 2 driving lanes and then parking on that side. So, you know, we've done this. Bonson Avenue from 57th Street going to the north, maybe to the Holy Spirit Church, was a half of a street for several years. You know, one section is a curb and gutter urban section. The other side is just like a rural section like Marion Road is. And so, you know, we got to build them wide enough so that you can have a lane of parking and 2 safe lanes for travel. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Council, would anybody want to make a motion?
So move, Anderson.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Karski. There's no more discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Thank you. Item 29.
Item 29 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of Sioux Falls, South Dakota by adopting the Shape Places zoning ordinance.
Good evening. We're going to give an overview of the Shape Places zoning ordinance, and Sam Trebilcock and I are going to share this presentation. The presentation is very similar to what we gave at Planning Commission in February and what we gave as a presentation as the informational meeting this afternoon. Over the last 4 years, 2 years with Shape Sioux Falls, the comprehensive plan, and 2 years with the zoning ordinance, what we've heard is 15 public meetings, the individual planning commission meetings and city council, they've asked us to change the ordinance. That's what we've really done. We've really tried to change the ordinance by making residential residential. We don't want to have people coming to public meetings and not having meaningful input. We've tried to make commercial about the size, and we've allowed the districts to reflect today's market. Now, what that really means is when Shape Sioux Falls and Shape Places goes forward, we're trying to develop people's place, how they see their land. What you need to understand, and the public at home really should understand, is they're still going to have districts, what they understand what their zoning district is. The forms are new. That's really how their structure of their property looks. The land uses are very similar. If you have a single-family dwelling, that's in that RS district. If you have a general commercial site, that's in a C2 district. And then the standards. The standards are such things as setback, parking, and landscaping. Now, the 4 things that I mentioned that we're really trying to do. The first one is we changed the ordinance in Shape Places to make residential about residential. We've allowed residential areas now to really help this 90% of our population to understand it's going to be primarily residential. We've eliminated all those unnecessary conditional uses in the residential district. There's still going to be places of worship in elementary schools in residential neighborhoods. However, things that you've heard about in the past, such as nursing homes and group homes, would be only allowed in separate, different zoning districts.
You know, we wanted to spend a little bit of time tonight also talking about the zoning interface, which we believe really, as we've talked about it in the past, we really believe helps bring this ordinance into a more user-friendly format. As Jeff mentioned, the idea of bringing things together as forms is new to the ordinance, but many of the things that we're utilizing is just bringing together many of the different uses that can be controlled the same. And they're controlled the same way in whatever district they're in. Rather than they might be different in this district from this district. The standards are different from one to the other. We've tried to standardize that. And we've also, as you can tell from the presentation here, tried to illustrate it. Pictures we think are worth 1,000 words, and really tell a story of what the setbacks are. What are the signage standards? Give you some ideas of what is there for parking. All in one page, and then it also links you directly into that ordinance. And we really think that's going to be very helpful, and we've already heard a lot of good comments about that, in, again, making it a more user-friendly document.
So now, again, one of the questions the public really wants to understand is, what about the public involvement? We've tried to, again, reduce those conditional uses to eliminate the things that they don't want to have addressed. It gets back to, as I say in the bottom of this slide, zoning is what should matter. We've already kind of alluded to this. It should be the discussion at City Council when the zoning gets placed. If someone wants to come in and make a change, it should be based upon the zoning, not these hearings that they have where we put conditions on and the applicant's upset and the neighbors are upset because it still got approved with conditions. So we've eliminated some of those conditional uses. The analogy I gave earlier was when a church was trying to go into a commercial district out by the Empire Mall and that had to go through a conditional use. Those types of things would not be required anymore.
Now, some of the questions that come up is a lot of times in conditional uses, one of the things that we bring forward a lot of times is trying to work with the neighbors on buffer yards. And that's ends up being different every time you go through a conditional use. And what we're trying to do is standardize that. We think it's really important working with, whether it's working with the neighborhood or again working with the developers, that everybody knows what the standards are. And so in this case, we've brought buffer yards, and that's an easy way, we believe, depending on the how and the uses that are adjacent to residential areas, what the buffer yard is going to be. For instance, if you have a major commercial area and it happens to be next to residential, you're going to have a larger buffer yard. In this case, it would be 45 feet. If you're going to have something such as an office, which is a fairly good transition anyway, we have a smaller buffer yard, such as 15 feet. That in itself is going to help reduce the need for conditional uses. Again, we've already brought that buffer yard as a standard. Also, what we've tried to do beyond that, knowing that there are other uses out there that need some additional separation, there are standards that we've put into the ordinance for many of the commercial or industrial areas that have the separation distances from those uses. And they're listed as 100, 250 feet, 500 feet, in some cases 1,000 feet from residential areas. And in those instances, they're permitted special uses as long as they stay within that, outside of that distance. If they're within that distance, then it goes to conditional use. Again, we're trying to, again, protect that single-family area from uses such as adult uses that you might be concerned that it gets too close. On-sale alcohol would be another, a kennel. Again, just the noise of the dogs, you would want to make sure is further away. Or if it's not, that you do go through a process to work with the neighbors to try to mitigate those concerns. So that's what we're trying to show here. In this case, up above is showing on-sale and off-sale alcohol distances. And you can see that with our separation distance that we're proposing, that many cases, if it would be within that area, the buffer area, it would go to conditional use.
So the third standard or issue that we tried to address is in regards to non-residential, anything that wasn't residential. And we've heard from the public that we should really make the commercial about the size. In the past, most of the things that had to come through this body and through Planning Commission was always rezoned C4 because that's the most typical zoning classification we had for commercial. Now we're trying to address it based upon the size of that commercial development. Retail in the new ordinance is either going to be general retail or motor vehicle retail, because motor vehicle retail would be auto sales, auto repair, auto rebody, and that has different impacts than general retail. So then when you look at commercial districts, we have 4 commercial districts. I'm listing 3. The first one that I don't show up there is C1, which is up to 4,000 square feet. C2 is up to 25,000 square feet. C3 up to 75,000, and C4 unlimited size. So they would come in, you'd have a discussion about, is this the appropriate type of commercial, and that public discussion would take place there. The other thing in regards to non-residential is currently you really can't have, it's not supported in the ordinance to have commercial and industrial districts. That could be a coffee shop or a gas station. Now you would be able to do commercial and industrial districts.
The basis behind where we come up with these commercial districts, and we talked about a little bit this at the informational, but again, I think it's important to highlight, is coming from our comprehensive plan, the Shape Sioux Falls Comprehensive Plan, which was adopted in 2009. This is the future land use map, so many of the designations are going to be based on this, whether or not it's now with the new map that we're bringing forward as a part of this, or as people come in and develop their land, this is how that's going to be based upon. You can see the really large red circles. Those are regional employment centers, and that's typically where you're going to see, under this new ordinance, the C4. You could have other zoning districts within there too, down from there, but C4, that's the only place you're really going to see C4 unless it's something that's existing. The sub-regionals, you're going to see C3 and C4. The blues, that's community employment. That's going to be your C3s and C2s. And then the yellows, those neighborhood, are going to be your C2s. Now, we base this on the traffic generation that you're going to have based upon those roadways and where their access points are going to be. And that's how we came up with those. And again, we kind of talked about that at informational. This is kind of how it lays out. And we show a couple pictures here, but you can see the intersection that we're showing here on the left really shows a C2, a good example of a C2 neighborhood center, and shows a picture there of a building that you would typically see within that employment center versus what you would see in the C4, which is on the right. You're going to see big box. malls. It's those kind of regional employment centers that you're going to see there, such as, you know, a Target or a Walmart or things like that. Some of the conditional uses that we have in the ordinance are listed here. Those are going to continue to be conditional uses in the ordinance. And then you can see these are some of the separation distances that we have listed. They're permitted special now, but they must be outside of this separation distance.
And council, you have a listing of this in front of you.
Mm-hmm. And this kind of gives you an idea, as I mentioned, like adult uses. What would have a separation distance? It's 1,000 feet from sensitive uses. You say, what are sensitive uses? It's residential. It's also schools. It's also a number of other things too, daycares, things like that.
So then the fourth item that we were working to address is today's new market. Things have changed in the last 20 years. So mixed use is now an option, as you kind of see in the bottom left-hand corner. If someone wants to do residential and non-residential, that's an option. We've really tried to address the traditional residential neighborhoods on that bottom right-hand picture. If people want to continue to enhance their properties in traditional neighborhoods, they can do that. We've converted our PDs to conventional zoning districts, and we've allowed 5 different planned unit developments for our major campuses. There's also an ability in Sioux Falls to have some flexibility and bring in an alternative site plan for landscaping, parking, and signage to bring that before a body and discuss it public if they have a better way of doing things. It's an alternative site plan. Earlier today, I wanted to try to address the 2 issues that came up. One of them was, what about the zoning districts? Did we decrease them? We're going to have 35 new zoning districts. Currently, we have 298. So that's the breakout there, the existing versus the proposed number of zoning districts. And again, any of the feedback that we've got over the last 2 years, any of the feedback we got over the last 2 months, really, we've addressed those issues, those comments. It's a site-by-site issue. Usually it's someone coming in saying, can you explain this to me? And then they're nodding their head, go, well, that's fantastic. I'm still getting my public involvement. These are new options. This is a better system. We've addressed all those issues as we've moved forward. And at this point, any questions for us?
Well, good job, guys. Appreciate it. This is a first reading, so at this point, we give the council the opportunity to engage the professionals at this. Councilor Staggers, I'll start with you.
Yes. Jeff, this afternoon in regard to the zoning districts, I might have said zoning districts in regard to classification. I think right now we have 22 classifications for zoning, don't we?
19.
19? How many are we going to have with this?
We're going to have 29.
Okay, 29 with this one. Okay. Now, do you have any estimate on what % of Sioux Falls will be changed by this ordinance, the zoning ordinance here? We're going to be
the majority. A percentage, I would say 80 to 90%. So for example, why such a high percentage is being changed? Because we decreased the number of zoning districts by your type of request, where right now there's an RS1 and an RS2 zoning district, and that's most people's single family house. We just created an RS. Mm-hmm. So we took the number off behind your zoning classification.
Any ideas substantively how many will change? Like you mentioned with the RS thing, it's just a very minor thing, but...
No.
Okay. So we're doing this without really knowing substantively what part of this, I mean, what percentage of the city is going to be changed in zoning?
If I understood a better definition of that substantively, I mean, minor, minimal, I don't know for sure how you would define that. It's going to be different for everybody. When we say it changes, we change the significant amount of the properties. I mean, 90 to 95%. Some people will say that's substantive and some won't. So I don't know if I want to classify a percentage from that definition.
Councilor Staggers, would you want to be more specific with Jeff?
Well, how many or what % of the area is being changed from Yeah, go ahead.
I guess the easier way for me to do it, and what I've talked to council about when we've had individual meetings, is we want to have the public hearing. We would love to have the public discussion. We sent the water bills out. We've had the public meetings. We're going to the media. And we hope that the public will come to the meeting and say, if there's a substantive change that they disagree with, you would see people in the room. But at this point, we don't have anything like that.
Right, because in reality, most people still do not know what's going on. I mean, you might have tried everything you can, Jeff, but in reality, most people don't have a clue as to what's going on.
I think they generally do, but again, it's not substantive.
And what's that mean? Okay.
That they, all we did was we changed their property from RS2 to RS, and they go, I don't care. Can I still build my house? Can I still live there? What changed? And we go, nothing. And they go, so why do I, there's
Okay.
no issues for them.
For the next time we deal with this, I'll come up with
Thank you, sir.
a better example for you. But in regard to signage, there have been a
Yes.
couple of prominent groups that have kind of backed out who wanted to have some change in this, but there's still other people out there very concerned about signage.
Yes.
Can you clarify some of this signage? First of all, in regard to signage in your private yard, what does this proposed ordinance say about signage in your private yard, not in the boulevard?
Correct.
But on your private property?
We've added a section in the code that yard signs will be allowed in your private yard for a certain time period as long as they're non-commercial messages.
Okay, so Cub Scouts and
I love my son.
Kingswood and all this, they can do that in their, but not on the boulevard. Nothing on the boulevard, is that right? It's sanitized?
Public right-of-way is protected.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I had at this time.
Councilor Sayers, good job. Yes, Councilor Jameson.
We had a good, healthy discussion today at the 4 o'clock, so some of this is already ingrained in us. But one of the things we talked about was, or has already been started here, is the notification to the public about a change. You know, we struggle up here a lot of times when there is a proposed change, a zoning change, and the room is filled with people with a concern. Tonight, well, when the second reading, when this ordinance is passed, we will have made sweeping changes all across the city.
Correct.
And I'm just a little concerned that notifying them through the water bill, notifications of public meetings, our best intentions, you've done a great job, you guys, of doing all this, but the intentions are going to be overwhelmed when the public shows up, when somebody starts scraping dirt in the vacant lot next to them in the spring or the summer, and they're all saying, wait a minute, what's going on? They're concerned about the setbacks, they're concerned about what building it's going to be, they're concerned about the type of use, because they seem to always get notified before because the conditional use process of over the 15,000 square foot building, generally they would get notified.
Right.
So my concern is just that we're making these changes tonight, and I'm sure the sleeping public on this issue is going to come and ring our doorbell pretty hard when, you know, we'll all have the best intentions of making this easy and simple and better for all of us, but I'm nervous about the public showing up someday in the future saying, wait a minute.
Right. We believe we built the standards into the ordinance to protect that. Not only protect you from the public involvement discussion, but the citizens from going, wait, the issues that we wanted to discuss during those conditional uses were landscaping, hours of operation, the separate. We built all those in so they go, well, good, then why did we even have to come to the meeting? If you took care of all the issues we had. So we keep referring back to, well, in C4, they could build up to 15,000 square feet, and so then they had to go to a conditional use. Now we say that's the same thing. In C2, they can build up to 25,000. They still can't build a super big store unless they go to this body and have that discussion. So we've built in those standards. Zoning is what matters, and we've put standards in there about what the landscaping has to be, the type of landscaping, what has to be in between a single-family property and anything non-residential. We believe we've done that. If we haven't, one of the things that, again, we've tried to make sure we clarify, we can change it. This isn't, we're going to adopt this in March and we'll never be back again. I think you're well aware of that. If something needs to be changed in 6 months or 6 years, we can change the ordinance.
Councilor Rolfing.
Jeff, I want to say thank you too for the hard work that you and Sam put in on this, because I know I can't imagine trying to sit there and figure this thing out, but you did good. You did good. But I'm also with Councilman Jameson that I want to make sure that there's always an out kind of thing for our citizens that say, you know, if something is happening, as we've seen, if something is happening in this new law or this new ordinance, or something is happening in my neighborhood, that we have a way to make sure that we can either stop it or encourage it or do something like that. And so, and I know that the Land Use Committee worked hard over the last 3 years with Mike on getting the way that the meetings are held and the notifications and all that. We upgraded all that for a reason. And so I want to make sure that within this ordinance is a way to allow our constituents, the good people of Sioux Falls, to make sure that if their neighborhood or the people surrounding the affected area can, I don't want to say petition, but can be notified or do something to either stop or you know,
yes,
make sure that they get something that they want.
As Councilmember Erpenbach already mentioned, we didn't change the public notification, so that's still there.
Right.
All those things that you put into place, and then they will still come before this body to rezone the property.
Okay.
So that they still have all those opportunities.
If let's just say something is going in at 69th and Cliff again.
Right.
And it doesn't meet, or it does meet everything that's going in there. Will there be a sign that'll go up, or I'm sure there will be some kind of a sign or public notice or something like that that would say, you know, there's a new, I'm trying to think of something that would be a book nook or something like that would go in there, so that, you know, it wouldn't be a,
as
whatever.
Currently proposed, and as Sam kind of detailed to you, taking the elephant in the room, 69th and Cliff, okay? It's currently being proposed as C2. They could build a general retail store up to 25,000 square feet.
Right.
That's it. Okay, if they want to build an adult use, they can't because they're within 1,000 feet. If they want to do, look at your list, if they want to do other things, if they want to put a kennel, they can't. They're within 1,000 feet. If they want to do those other 500 feet within single family, there's still those conditions. But if they want to do
it would have been exactly like what we had before there. If they wouldn't want to put it in there, and we found out about it,
people found out. Can they go in there and build a 100,000 square foot store? No.
No. But if they wanted to put in a 25,000
foot store,
yes, and it's a adult use, and the neighbors said no way,
they still couldn't do it. But they could go there today and build a 20,000 square foot grocery store, and they wouldn't have to put a sign up, and they wouldn't have to notify anybody, and they'd have to put the landscaping in correctly and the lighting in correctly, and everybody, I would think, would be happy and go, good. I didn't want to go to another meeting to talk about a 20,000 square foot grocery store.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Aguilar.
Jeff, could you go into a little more detail regarding the changes in the parking calculation? And could you bottom line it? Will this mean more parking will be needed or less?
More parking in general. Shauna was the advocate and the staff person for the parking standards section. I got to do signage. So, but in general, we think that we have too much parking in Sioux Falls, but I think when there was issues with the informational, I put 4 different or 5 different ones up there. Those ones that we had, we did more restrictive parking standards. The on-sale one that you had in the past, we made that one more restrictive. Now they have to have more parking.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be a general statement.
Councilor Henneman.
I can highlight those parking ones and get that sheet to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question I have is, again, could you just reinforce just several items, if I might? Could you just re-inform us again how many years you've been working on this process?
4 years, very intensively just on this zoning part the last 2 years.
Great.
About 100 to 150 neighborhood or public meetings.
And I know as a business person, I was involved in a couple of different hearings, but can you tell us? Can you tell us again how you got the public participation, or how many people you had participate in these discussions over the past 4 years?
Sure. You know, in the 4 or 5 study groups that we had, there was probably 20 to 25 members that were involved in them. They ebbed and flowed. How we got those people is we would send out press releases, we'd do notices and say we'd start this press, we'd have this study group, and then people joined and we'd keep them involved. We also would then continue to send out notices and say there's a public meeting, and so then you'd add people or subtract people as it went along. I can speak specifically for the signage group. My email notices of every meeting notice and every minute went out to like 50 people. Yeah. They didn't always come, but so that's generally how we did the groups, is people would just say, I want to be part of it, and you'd keep them involved in the process. It was stakeholders, being business owners, representatives, citizens, council people. It was just whoever was interested and able to participate.
Yeah, I think what happens is that as we go forward, and we've spent so much staff time and we've invested so much time from the public in on these things too, I think we're always going to have those situations where something is built and somebody isn't happy with ultimately what's going to happen, and we're going to have to deal with those. But I think overall, I think the staff has done an excellent job in identifying where some of the issues were, seeking public input into those issues, and I feel very comfortable with what you've done. And I think as long as you've protected our ability to have public hearings when it comes to zoning changes and those kinds of things where you allow the public input, I think you've done a very good job on a very difficult task here. Thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
Jeff, help me understand the, say I own 10 acres of land that's zoned C2, and I could build one building of a 25,000 square foot building.
You could build multiple 25,000.
So if I owned the elephant in the room and had 18 acres, zone C2, how many 25,000 separate square buildings could I?
You have to continue to meet the standards. You have to meet the landscaping standards and the parking standards for your 25,000 square foot building. So again, we don't run the numbers for them. They have to go, well, look, if this is 25,000, you got to meet the parking standards. If it's a 30, then they have to meet the setbacks, and they'll study that and go, oh, I got 4. Oh, wait, I only, on this layout, I got 3 or I got 6. But the public then, that's what we heard from the public. That's what you heard when you had that big room full at 69th and Cliff. They said, this is a neighborhood, this should be a small commercial store, 25, that's what we were hearing, and they wanted to be protected from that standpoint. So that's what we built. They also pointed back to, look, you said this in your Shape Sioux Falls, you said this in your comprehensive plan, stick to what you adopted in 2009. That's what we've done. So we don't want to come here now in April and say, oh, guess what, now we're going to change everybody to these new, we've stuck to what we've said since 2007 when we started the process.
How about on the, could you go back to the map that shows the whole area, the whole city and all the...
This is our future land use map that, again, you can see we adopted back in 2009.
Right, okay, let's just say that I have land that I'd like to annex into the city. And right now the road is a rural road.
Correct.
But let's just say it's north or south Minnesota Avenue, for instance, and pretty easy to understand that that's going to turn into a major arterial road.
Right.
If you had to look out into the future, you would be able to really potentially predict the value of some of this land.
Absolutely. I mean, that's not really any different than what we've done for the last 15, 20 years. We've laid out where we can service land and how we can service land. Sam and I think it's better now, but so now you can actually look at it and you look at, but should you expect on those southeast corners where it shows a neighborhood circle to be able to have a big box commercial development there? No. And the neighbors shouldn't have that expectation either. But if you want to go by that corner, Then you see that it's a neighborhood center, and you'd go to the comprehensive plan, and you would go to the zoning ordinance, you go, what should I expect in a neighborhood center? You would get C2 commercial zoning. It already starts laying it out that they were going to go, well, this is pretty easy. Any developer, any broker, any landowner can go, so it was neighborhood, I'm going to have C2. C2 is going to be 25,000 square feet. They can start selling the land, putting their standards in. They wouldn't go out there and buy it for this astronomical price thinking, guess what, I just bought the next super target site, and then being told after they get to this hearing, what do you mean I didn't get super target? And then they're really mad because they went out there and put their whole life's work on the edge. They knew the rules, and everybody knew the rules. It was fair and equitable to everybody.
And those premises that you use to set up those determine, like the type of road that'll be there, the existing residents and things, those are going to be the criteria that any prospector, any landowner should be using to
correct
essentially determine the value of their property before they sell.
The city engineer's still here, but I was just going to boast about city engineering. I mean, they talk about, here's our engineering standards. I mean, this isn't planning standards. It's engineering design standards for the type of roadway, what the classification is, what the speeds are, and what the access points are. We took engineering standards and put it into our map so that we're, again, working together. Planning and Public Works has the same standard. You don't want someone to go, wait, Planning and Public Works are telling us two different things. No, we have the same message going forward.
Thank you.
Councilor Jameson, thank you. Councilor Enneman.
Jeff, I think earlier at the 4 o'clock meeting, you mentioned that once they submit a plan to you and the plan is approved as far as the building sites, how many buildings on a specific plan, if they want to change that plan because economic times have changed or whatever, then they're going to have to come back and go through the whole process again as far as, and at that point in time, is there an opportunity for additional public hearing because the plan has changed?
Correct. Specifically, we were referencing planned unit developments for those campuses, and when those planned unit developments, earlier we heard about the VA hospital. That's a campus, and if they come in and they rezone their property to a PUD, they will lay out their buildings, and they can build it to those building footprints and how they lay it out. But then if the market changes and they have to change that, you're absolutely correct. They would have to come back in front of this body and redo it and have that public information discussion again.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Councilor Urbanbach.
Thank you. Just two things, Mayor, and they're really kind of unrelated. One, we keep saying the words the elephant in the room, and I want to clarify for those folks that are not inside baseball, this is 69th and Cliff, and it's a Walmart that we said no to. And so what, for me, the visual person, you keep saying, well, now it's going to be C2 if we pass this proposal, and you say it can be 25,000 square feet or smaller. I haven't a clue what that is.
Okay.
What's 25,000 feet now? Can you give me a building kind of in the general neighborhood of size? I knew it.
You know, again, we have one-page interfaces, so a developer or a citizen can pull up this one page and go, explain to me again, what's my setbacks? Nope. So we can give them those interfaces and show them what they should expect. So when we give them the C2 interface, this one example, on the right, Sam said, here's C4, you should expect this building. On the left is C2. You know, are they going to get a subway? We don't want to mislead people and go, look, you're going to get a subway and I don't know even know what's, but they go, oh, well, that's a 25,000 square foot building? Yes. Well, I can live with that. That's just a little neighborhood center. Every corner has a subway. Yep, and everyone's going to have a coffee shop, and I suppose there's a liberty tax or something in there. That's what they're going to have.
Good. Okay. Those are the kinds of things.
And that's what the public does. The public goes, C2, C4, I don't get C2, C4. Don't tell me about 25. Show me the picture, and they go, oh, well, I like that, but that's too big.
Right, exactly. And I think that's, if I just give my support, I think that's the best part of this is that, I mean, mostly it's going to be developers that are using this, but a regular person like me can jump on it and go, oh, I get that.
Right.
You know, I really do understand
industrial park, we've done it for commercial, we've done it for office buildings, we've done it for apartment complexes too. So they can look at it and go, I don't want to know about 25,000 square feet. I want to know about What's the apartment look like? 3 stories, 48 units. Oh, that's
Exactly. Then my other comment would be then that I've heard lots of positive things, especially from Central District. Folks are excited about this idea that they really can improve their properties, add to them in some cases, you know, that those core neighborhoods really are going to have an easier time of doing the kinds of maintenance things and the kinds of upgrades that they really want to do. I know folks are really appreciative of that. The thing I would like to say, though, to the public is if you're not, we need to hear it. I mean, we're really hearing very positive things, and I'm seeing heads nodding. So if you've got things that you need us to hear about, we've got 2 weeks now before we vote on this. I hope that folks will hear it. And I do know people watch this. I have people tomorrow morning will always say to me, and I know they do to you, I saw you on TV last night. Okay, you're seeing us on TV tonight, folks. We're talking about something really big, and we need to hear from you. Yep. So thanks, you guys, both of you. I know Sam did a ton on this, and both of you need credit for it. Thank you.
Councilor Stagers.
Yes, Jeff, you've worked for the city for many, many years. You've worked on this plan now for 4 years. And so I'm asking for your opinion now, okay? This is called Sioux Falls, of
Shape
course.
Places.
Shape Places,
Yep.
Sioux Falls. What this is really doing, of course, is controlling. This is a control document. Now, the years I've been on the council, this is going to be the one vote that's probably the most controlling that I've ever had as far as an ordinance goes. Well, how would you say, right now, with the controls that Sioux Falls has on zoning and land use and all this other kind of stuff, what we have right now in comparison to Shape Places, is there more control with Shape Places or less control?
significantly less.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Because that's what not only the citizens ask for, but that's what the landowners ask for. Give us flexibility and the ability to change.
With that, Councilor Stagers, would you mind setting a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 19th at 7 p.m.?
So move.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Stagers has made that motion and has been seconded by Councilor Rolfing. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Stagers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 30.
Item 30 is a first reading to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 19th, 2013 at 7 o'clock p.m. for an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 51, Utility Rates and Charges, Subchapter, Stormwater Drainage System Improvement Cost Recovery.
The following ordinances, we'll take them individually, all have to do with making sure that if Shape Places passes, the language in these engineering documents will be coinciding with Shape Places. The table in front of you represents that. The current zoning states what the zoning districts are and what on the right-hand side they will be. In these cost recoveries, it references our zoning classifications. We need to make sure they match up. It's not changing the fees. It's not changing the fee structure at all. It's changing the zoning classifications. Now, in this first one, the drainage fee, we're also, again, taking the opportunity for drainage to amend one of the sections in regards to the ability for a landowner to donate their property and then not have to change the fee. We haven't been successful in doing that, so we brought it to IREB and said we're going to take out that section of the code and not be able to donate land in order to reduce your fees. So I wanted to also highlight that. We have the principal engineers here today, so if you had any questions on drainage, Andy Berg's also available.
Jeff, thank you again. First reading, folks, so I'm going to leave it up to the council. Any questions at all? Would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 19th?
So move, Karski.
Second.
Councilor Karski, thank you. Councilor Anderson Jr., thank you as well for that second. If there is no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 30. No, 31.
Item 31 is a first reading to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 19th, 2013 at 7 o'clock p.m. for an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 51, Utility Rates and Charges of the Ordinance.
This is the water section of the engineering design, our engineering code, and again, classifying the correct zoning. And in this section, it's very specific and easy to address. It talks about the RC zoning classification being charged or not being charged this fee, and so we had to change it to the REC and the CN to again make sure that people understood what zoning classifications we were going to be talking about.
Council, any questions or comments on this one? Or
Move to set the hearing for the second reading Tuesday, March 19th.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Anderson Jr., thank you. Councilor Henneman, thank you for the second. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 32.
Item 32 is first reading to set a data hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 19th, 2013 at 7:00 p.m. for an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 96, Streets and Sidewalks of the ordinance.
When we address streets and sidewalks, again, there's a value to what their land use is. It's based on their zoning classification, so commercial gets charged the most, and ag and recreation gets charged the least because it doesn't have as much traffic impact. Again, what we're doing here is making the table correct, so the new zoning classifications will be moved into this district also.
Thank you, Jeff. Council, any comments?
Move to set the hearing on this ordinance on Tuesday, March 19th.
Thank you.
Karski.
Councilor Rolfing, thank you. Councilor Karski, thank you as well. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 33.
Item 33 is a resolution declaring the necessity to construct sidewalk on North Kiwanis Avenue and assessing the cost to each lot or tract of land benefiting thereby.
Welcome, Chad.
Good evening, one final time. One of this year's capital projects is the reconstruction of Kiwanis Avenue from 2nd Street down to 9th Street. There are 35 parcels of land along that project, and there are 13 that do not have sidewalks or are missing portions of sidewalk. And they are all on the west side of Kiwanis. As part of this year's project, we will be addressing the accessibility issue, and the sidewalk installation will be completed. Tonight's resolution declares the necessity to construct the sidewalk and then assess the cost to each parcel. Tonight's hearing puts people on notice of what our plans are, and then once the project's complete, we'll come back and do the assessment roll when the project's complete. The affected property owners were notified of tonight's hearing by a letter dated February 14th, and in that letter, it did include an estimate of what their assessments could potentially be when we're done. And this resolution is in accordance with state law and city ordinance.
Thanks, Chad. Anybody want to talk about this in the audience tonight? Yes, Councilor Staggers.
Yes, Chad, how much private money is going to be used to build a city-owned sidewalk?
How much private money?
Yeah, we're going to have the adjacent property owners doing this for the city of Sioux Falls.
We're going to build it with public money.
Huh?
We're going to build the project with public funds.
No, the sidewalk. Sidewalks.
We're going to pay for it with public funds.
Oh, are you?
And then we'll come back and assess them.
Yes, and then when you come back to get some money from them, how much are you going to be trying to get?
I will give you a range.
Okay.
And of course, these are estimates.
Right, it could be more.
Probably conservative.
Probably.
They range from about $600, and they go up to, one parcel has about 200 feet of frontage, and that estimate is $4,752. So the majority of them are in that, $2,000 to $3,000 range.
And the total cost then for the conservative estimate for the total cost of all the sidewalks for the city?
Oh, maybe $20,000 or $25,000.
Okay.
I could send you the exact estimate.
Oh, okay. That would
The
be
project estimate is about $3 million, but
Uh-huh.
the sidewalk piece is probably that $25,000.
good. Okay. But they don't own the sidewalk, though. No, they don't.
Nobody, the sidewalk is in the public right-of-way, which is not owned by the city, but managed by the city.
It's not owned by the private property owner either.
Nor by the city.
It really is. Anyway, thanks for the information, Chad.
Anytime.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Chad, of these property owners that we've sent notifications out, how many have replied back to us?
None. And what happens on a project like this is, our engineering team or our consultant, there's always individual meetings that happen with each one of these properties to talk about access during construction and will my water be off? And that's the time when we have these meetings with them one-on-one where we talk about this piece of it. So they've already heard this information. They asked questions at that time. Then we send, once you guys on the consent agenda approve the date for tonight's hearing, the next day they get a letter, or we send out a letter notifying that this is when the hearing will be. So we haven't had anybody contact us regarding tonight's hearing, in opposition or in support.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Council, good job. Would anybody want to make a motion to approve this item?
So move, Entenmann.
Councilor Entenmann, is there a second? Second by Councilor Karski. Councilor Staggers?
Yeah, I just would hope that maybe this time we might have some other people voting against this. It just seems, well, it's not, it doesn't seem, it is very inappropriate for the city to force adjacent property owners to pay for their own sidewalks. These sidewalks are going to be owned by the city. They're not going to be owned by the private property owner, and that's the way it is with most sidewalks in Sioux Falls. Most sidewalks are not owned by the adjacent property owner. They're owned by the city. And here we're having the adjacent property owners pay for something that's not even theirs. Totally inappropriate.
Very good. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
For the safety and for the use of the sidewalks, I'll vote yes.
Staggers,
No.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Item 34.
Item 34 is a resolution amending the 2013-2017 capital program.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Dean Borkart with the Office of Public Works. Tonight we are requesting two amendments to our 2013 OSEP plan. The first request is for the addition of 2 backhoes for the Water Purification Division. These units are currently in the final year of a 5-year lease, which is funded by the Water Purification operational budget. The units are vital equipment used in the maintenance of our distribution system. Public Works and Finance have evaluated our purchasing options and are confident the city will save with the purchase option allowed by this resolution rather than entering into another lease for these units. The second request is for the acceleration of a microwave analyzer for the Water Reclamation Division. The current unit was purchased in 1998 and is in the 2017 OSEP plan year for replacement. This unit is used by the Water Reclamation Laboratory staff for testing to ensure we meet our regulatory requirements. The current unit has become unreliable and we request the authority to accelerate its replacement to 2013. Both of these items will be funded by user fees and require no additional authority. And both division managers, Greg Anderson for water purification and Mark Perry for water reclamation, are here if you have any further questions.
Thank you. And did we want to talk about the other one too, Don? I don't know. Just for the public's sake. Thank you, Don.
Yes, not much else to report. It's just providing the authority to go ahead and do that project. So, any questions?
The bike trail rest area project? Very good. Anybody in the public want to speak to this item? Council? Yes, Councilor Staggers.
Yeah, I guess I have a question about the backhoes. why all of a sudden do we have to do this? Couldn't you wait another year, or couldn't you have had it in previously, or what happened?
Ultimately, it was planned to be replaced with a lease in 2013 again. I guess in hindsight, we could have added to the plan last year, and certainly that would have been the preferred methodology to have it in there. Ultimately, it was planned to be another lease in 2013, and ultimately, when we evaluated that, we believe that we can save at least $10,000 per machine by purchasing them outright rather than continuing in the lease fashion. So we bring it forward to you for your approval at this time.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Now, you said the money for these are going to be coming from user fees?
Correct. All of the OSEP items that, all the capital equipment that are replaced by water reclamation or water purification are funded either through the fleet program, as this is a new addition, and then the microwave analyzer is a replacement, but it is a specialized equipment. It isn't a fleet. It isn't a rolling stock. Fleet is just a rolling stock item. So they will be paid for by the division funds just like they normally would. Then fleet would plan for the replacement, and that would be paid for by rental rates just as the other pieces of equipment are planned for replacement.
Now, I'm looking at the two, we're talking the two equipment items that fall under Public Works, correct?
Correct.
Now, recently, Public Works had some savings on purchasing equipment for the landfill. Is that those savings, could those be utilized, or do they have to stay with the landfill?
Correct. It is a landfill asset, so those stay with the savings stay with the landfill. Water reclamation will fund the microwave analyzer, as well as water purification would fund the backhoes. They are separate enterprises, and they fund their own equipment replacement plans accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson, Jr. has made a motion to approve these items. It's seconded by Councilor Rolfing. No further discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes. That is passed 8-0. Item 35.
Item 35 is a report of the February 25th, 2013 Notice of Transfers of Appropriations within Major Organizational Units.
Thank you. Do we have to approve that item? No, thank you. I always ask that. Well, Council, is there any other discussion tonight?
Move to adjourn. Erpenbach.
Second, Karski. It's been a motion to adjourn by Councilor Bach, seconded by Councilor Karski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Sioux Falls. Great job, City Council. Make it a great night.